11:70 AM in Sydney SEN 693 in Brisbane, and on the app. Breakfast powered by Kubota. Take on any job with Kubota's range of tractors, mowers and utility vehicles. Andrew, you mentioned Terrell May. Now, Terrell, we had a chat about this prior to coming on air. Terrell May did an interview, and I remember we did comment on it because it was a bizarre interview. It was him almost revealing how he felt about the game. But this was in September, so this was during finals. Did an interview with the Sun Herald. I think Adrian Prozenko had a chat with him, and he was saying things. And I remember thinking, "Wow, that's a really bizarre thing to be saying while your team's in a finals game." He said, "I don't like playing the game. There's times where I just don't want to be there. I don't want to play. I gave it away twice, once when I was 18, once when I was 20. So I'm pretty sure that was once at Penrith and once at the Tigers. Both times I just didn't want to play the game anymore. I get like that throughout the year as well. It's a weird feeling. I don't think many people experience it where one week they love the game and go on TV screens and the next they don't want to be there at all." So if you're Roosters teammate or the Roosters administration, coach, anything, you're going, "Oh, hang on. What's going on here?" Now, the Roosters aren't saying this is why he was let go, but there's been strong mail that played a big part.
I don't know whether I'm meant to be a bleeding heart here or I'm meant to go hard hitting because, he says you need to support your family and I couldn't do without footy. Part of me does want to just be a bit fatherly and say to Terrell, "Mate, welcome to the world, mate." Like, a lot of us go to work, don't want to, like good days, bad days, but the rugby league's lifestyle is very different. And to say that there are just times people wouldn't understand, well, you know what? People do understand. Because they do jobs digging holes, they work in ceilings, in summer, it doesn't matter about the weather, off they go. There are people working 7 days a week and then some. I really do feel reality check here rather than me putting an arm around and giving a hug. Is that hard, Brandy, that I would take? Look, throw it out to the listener. Do you put your arm around Terrell May here and say, "Come on, mate, I'll help you"? Because the Roosters have kicked him out. So his attitude they haven't put a cuddling arm around him. He's free to go. Do you go hard on this or do you put an arm around him? What sort of world are we now living in that we take that? 0457 736 736. Bloke in a Bar podcast. Like this was from 12 months earlier. We've got a little clip from that. He was saying these things more than a year ago. Here he was with Denon Kemp.
Did you quit footy because you're just unhappy in the environment?
Yeah, just unhappy, bro. Just didn't want to train, didn't want to be there. Not because I didn't like the Tigers, just because of myself, like my own self, not wanting to be there.
This is going back a couple of years now to how he felt at the Tigers. But if he feels like this, I'm not one to say, well, you and everyone's different. Everyone's different, and obviously he doesn't love the game. There is players that don't love the game. They just do it as a job. Whether you have to share that with everyone, because I'm not the sharing type. Hence, no social media. No, I don't want to tell people like if I need to say something and I don't feel a need to share things with the world. I don't know why would he tell Denon Kemp or anyone
future employers
why
future
would he
employers
tell
in
them
rugby
that?
league?
I don't understand people that have the need to spill their guts to whoever asks them a question. But if he does feel like that, well, that's how he feels. He can't change that. So you know what, Terrell, you can't. You don't want to. If you don't want to play, and if you're not motivated to play, out you go. And obviously, the Roosters thought, you know what. What are we doing? That's time.
Yeah, okay.
You can move on. Do that somewhere else then if you want.
Okay, so here's your sort of snap poll, if you like, on the text. Do you give him a cuddle? Do you put your arm around him and you bide your time with him and let him, go with his ups and downs, or do you cut him free like the Roosters have done? Do you go heavy on him and tell him to wake up? Where do you stand on this one? 0457 736 736 on the text, or give us a call 1300 01 1170. Powered by Kubota. Tractors, Brandy. ride-on mowers, utility vehicles, Kubota.
vehicles.
That's the place. Yeah, you've got your eye on one, haven't you? Little three-wheeler. I know that.
Yes.
That'll be Brandy in the off-season. He will get on social media because he'll be doing posts for Kubota on his three-wheeler. This is Breakfast with Vossy and Brandy.
Sydney's home of sport, SEN 1170 AM Breakfast with Vossy and Brandy. Plenty of people want to have their say about Terrell May's situation. We'll go to the open line first, Vossy. Mark from Cronulla.
Yeah, let's hear. Mark, you opened the batting on this one this morning. What's your reaction, having heard a bit of that story about Terrell May and some of what he said more than a year ago?
I just think that's just the way the modern players and modern athletes are. It for so many of them nowadays, they play the sport because they're very good at it. They get rewarded at it and rewarded handsomely, but and that's why they do it. For them, it is 100% a living or a job. And for us oldies, I'm in your age bracket, guys. I'm 50, 55 plus. It's totally different when we grew up, whereas you would live and breathe and die for your jersey, and you would have one team only, and there was no other code. You'd never go to rugby or do anything else. It was league or you're a bricklayer. Whereas the world we live in now, so many of them are just playing it because they're good at it, they get paid well, and it's just a job.
Yeah, I agree with that. There is some truth in that. And of course, you can't just say everyone, all of them, but there is. I think there is a minority of players that don't watch the game. They're not interested in the game itself. They don't care what happens around them. They've just been good as juniors and gone through and realised that they can make a living out of it, but that isn't their love, which I'd find it very hard to play. Rugby league is a hard game to play, and I think if you don't love it, if you are doing it for money, boy, that becomes tough.
And in the forwards as well, sticking your head in places that you know what I mean, like getting smashed every time you run the ball. It ain't going to be a soft landing. Thanks for the call, Mark. Really strong start on this one. The text line has lit up. Pedro, he's gone to this morning. I'm on a train at 6:30 a.m. I'm just not feeling it today. I am, to quote Terrell, not loving it. And that's so many of us. Man, look, I don't want to go, I love my job. But, mate, I'm into November. My year started January 8th this year. We'll finish December 6th this year. And for the better part of the year, 7 days a week, until the last couple of weeks. Mate, you get on with it, but not every day you're on top of your game. You know what I mean? Like, you're not springing your step.
Andrew,
I've got a great job.
I'm hearing you.
You know what I mean? Like, this one, I'd cut him loose. I wouldn't want to be standing next to a bloke thinking, is this bloke's head in the game today? That sounds rough, but it's football's a different job. And it's a team game. And if I ever doubt the bloke's beside me, do I cuddle him or do I cut him free? I reckon the Roosters have done the right thing, if this is the case.
Yeah, well, I think they have too. And that's saying that despite Terrell May being one of the better Roosters this year.
Great year. Played every game. Only Roosters play every game. This one from Ryan, cut him free. There's so many young players busting their backsides trying to get a first-grade spot and would give 100%. That was my sentiment exactly. The players that are willing to put in, they're dying for the jersey. Yeah.
They're willing to do anything to get that jersey. And when you've got someone, albeit talented and obviously can play the game, but in two minds about whether he wants to be there or not, well, when is he choosing to be there fully 100% and when is he not?
Yeah.
Well, you can't have that.
Okay,
if you don't trust,
that's right.
If you don't trust, if there's no trust there, you can't have it. And I guess the Roosters have said, well, how can we trust Terrell May? When do we know that he's willing to be there and wants to be there, and when is he not? When does that happen, and when does it not? Well, then you go, well, it's too hard to pick. So
I'll throw something at you. You tell me that the Roosters wouldn't be sitting there scratching their heads when they go back and they say, hang on, this interview you did during the final series, and you're talking about, well, surely you needed a break from rugby league at the end of this long season with the Roosters. And, you talk about supporting your family and all of that, and let's get your break and then come back into off-season training. But then he goes off and tours with Samoa. So he didn't, and that's not for money. And now the Roosters don't get him for a month later. You know, maybe that left them scratching their head. Hang on, mate, you were saying you're worn out, you're tired, there's days you wake up, boom, boom, boom. But then post-season, you go off and do this. So,
Yep.
It almost gets back to Ed Cowan's quote. You can't choose when integrity matters. You can't pick and choose when you're going to do your job. Your job. Like,
when you
can't
want
pick the weeks.
Pick and choose when you're going to be 100%. That's right. I think you're right, Vossy. I think the Samoan thing probably did play a part in their decision.
Yeah, look, as I said, text line blown up. Another one, classic example, not loving it. Nick Kyrgios, he said that, doesn't love it. Craig Bellamy has said in the past, doesn't actually love the game, like not in love with it, but the job is his job. It's his profession. He does that. Keep the calls, keep the texts coming. It's quite a story. It's bigger than Terrell May, but it's the sports person. But by all means, tell us where you stand. Do you back up the Roosters? Breakfast with Vossy and Brandy. What about the golf day next Wednesday, Brandy? Last little plug for it?
Camden Lakeside. Yeah, Bryden's. All the golfing spots are full, but you can come out and join us at Camden Lakeside out there. Beautiful, beautiful course, beautiful clubhouse. Come and join us. We'll be doing the show. Then I'll be playing golf. But Bryden's lawyers, all the money raised will be for the Leukemia Foundation.